With the announcement of the Canon EOS C50 today, a lot of people are going to be comparing this camera to the FX3. But in this video, I want to briefly overview the Canon C50 versus just Lumix in general, mostly with their new cameras, with the S1 Mark II, the S1R Mark II, but a couple other features here and there from other Lumix cameras that are not yet in those cameras specifically. Let's dive in. Firstly is the body design. Ultimately, I will say the Canon C50 is definitely a better body design. It's more of that cinema hybrid body style versus a pure hybrid body style. Currently, Lumix still doesn't have any cinema style body camera that's been more recently updated with the new phase detect autofocus that they originally got in the S5 Mark II. The C50 also does have timecode hard built into the camera with a physical port. Meanwhile, on the new Lumix S1 cameras, you can connect it via Bluetooth with the Atmos Blue. The monitor pushing out a little bit more is something I wish that Lumix did on the S1 Mark II, being more of the video hybrid camera, just allowing some better temperature control for that camera. But I still do prefer the tilt-free screen that the Lumix S1 cameras currently have right now. Being able to tilt up, down, and out is definitely a massive win. Lastly, on the build design, I do want to touch point on just the physicality of the entire camera. Both cameras have a lot of similar functions like function buttons, the front record button, and different features throughout the entire camera. Both offer a safe Express Type B card and one SD card slot. I will say I do at the end of the day prefer the Canon C50 look just because it's more of that hybrid body from cinema to a hybrid body, and it's that perfect in between that I do really like. Moving on to video specs. Both Lumix and the Canon C50 have very impressive video specs. With the new Canon C50, you can shoot up to 7K open gate, which is a massive deal for multiple format delivery, especially in the social media content creation world. However, one downfall here is going to be that in the Canon C50, you can only shoot open gate in RAW up to 30 frames a second, or you can shoot in long up to 24 or 25 frames a second. So no 30 frames a second, no 48 frames a second, and no 60 frames a second. And then I do want to compare this to the new Lumix cameras. On the S1R Mark II, you can shoot up to 8.1K open gate, up to 30 frames a second in long up, or you can shoot on the S1 Mark II, either 6K up to 30 frames a second, or a 5.1K downsampled from 6K up to 60 frames a second, giving you that full sensor width and height, being able to shoot in open gate. You can also shoot in open gate externally RAW if you do want that RAW format and function, being able to shoot either on the Blackmagic Video Assist or on an Atmos monitor for being able to record externally RAW in open gate. I do want to break down also a little bit quick math here on the screen. If you're shooting in open gate RAW on the Canon C50, it's going to be at 900 megabits per second, which if you're on a 128 gigabyte SD card, that's going to be breaking down to 17 minutes and 4 seconds. However, if you jump back to the long op version on the Canon C50, that's going to be 486 megabits per second in long op on the C50, and that's going to be breaking down about to 34 minutes and 17 seconds if you're on a 128 gigabyte SD card. Now, if we compare this to the Lumix cameras in long op, the Lumix S1 has two different megabit options for recording in open gate. You're either in 200 megabits per second or 300 megabits per second. So you break this down on a 128 gigabyte SD card, that's going to be either a 1 hour and 23 minutes, or it's going to be 56 minutes and 4 seconds. The reason I want to bring this up specifically is because the reason to shoot in open gate is for multiple deliverables. While yes, you probably should be shooting in a 6K or at least a 5K, or sure 7K or 8K, whatever matters. Doesn't matter. You should be shooting in a higher resolution because you are cropping into the image at the end of the day. The main purpose of this is for multiple deliverables and specifically for social media. While shooting in RAW is nice, only having 17 minutes of footage in the LT version at the lowest compression for RAW does mean that you are going to be stacking a lot more storage in comparison to the Lumix options. And now currently, as I'm recording this video, the S1 Mark II cameras don't have what the Lumix S5 II, 2X, and the S9 have, which is called Open Gate Lite, allowing you to shoot in a 3.8K MP4 Lite format that is going to be making a way smaller compression. That's actually what I'm filming this at right now, which on a 128GB SD card can allow you to record up to 5 hours and like 30 minutes of footage. That's what I'm filming this entire video and all my YouTube videos, because when I want to shoot for social media, I don't need the highest quality video, but I still want the benefits of Open Gate, being able to crop into multiple formats if I so choose so. Same with client work. I don't need to be shooting in RAW. Yes, shooting in RAW is nice function to have. However, I also don't need the highest quality long GOP option either. So when it comes down to it, sure, is having more megabits per second better? Yes. However, in practical use, it does mean that you're going to need a lot more storage space to maintain how much of the footage is being recorded onto your media. Now, both these cameras can shoot 4K 120 frames a second, 4K 60 frames a second, and all those other different codecs. But I will say that the Canon C50 currently does have way more RAW formats and RAW format options, being able to record in RAW HQ, standard, or LT in their own Canon RAW. Moving on to some assist tools that both these cameras offer. Both these cameras offer the basic assist tools that a video professional filmmaking camera should have, things like waveform, vector scopes, peaking, false colors, dual native ISOs, different things like that. They also both offer multiple frame markers, which is super useful. On the Lumix cameras, I'm not sure about the Canon C50 camera, but on Lumix cameras, you can move those multiple frame markers anywhere on your screen. So if you want to move it left or right, you're able to do so to kind of match up your framing. But what the C50 did introduce is dual recording, not like proxy recording on Lumix cameras, but it allows you to record in two different aspect ratios. So if you're recording an Open Gate, you can have your vertical and your Open Gate being recorded at the exact same time on two different separate media cards. Now, why this feature is really cool, I do see this as something that Lumix can potentially easily implement, since they are known for firmware updating their cameras without breaking them, let me add. Moving on to image body image stabilization, or IBIS. This Canon C50, which is kind of gonna be the hot topic on this camera, is that it has no in-body image stabilization and no IBIS whatsoever. Now, a lot of people, probably mostly Canon users, are gonna say you don't need IBIS, which is true. However, when a lot of people are comparing this camera to the FX3 or the Lumix S1 Mark II cameras, both end of those cameras have IBIS, and for the people that this camera in the price bracket it is and selling for are probably gonna prefer IBIS. If you're gonna want to have really smooth shots, it's requiring you to get a gimbal. And then if you're getting a gimbal, you're spending an extra $600 to $800. Or alternatively, you get the Lumix S1 Mark II, you're getting very similar features, if not a little bit more on that side. And what you're going to be getting in return is going to be having just a better overall performance of your in-body image stabilization. I will say, for the people who shoot on Lumix cameras and you know how good the handheld IBIS looks, especially with their electronic stabilizations they've been implementing, you know that no other camera company can even come close to compare for the IBIS that Lumix cameras currently have. So not having it in a camera definitely is not a win for the Canon C50, because it's kind of weird if it's competing with the FX3 but it doesn't have IBIS, and it's not competing with the S1 Mark II because it doesn't have IBIS, but it kind of is. And then it's not really competing with the FX6 because it doesn't have IBIS, because it also doesn't have internal NDs. There's no trade-off there, you're just not getting either. Moving on to audio, since this camera does come with an audio top handle, which I do think is really good that it is coming with an audio top handle, and I am curious to see what it looks like in terms of price for this camera. If it doesn't come with the audio top handle, I would assume it's even more affordable than the current price point. But the audio top handle only is going to be providing 24-bit, which is a little bit surprising, since the Lumix GH7, which came out last year of May or June 2024, had the XLR2 unit that provided and supported 32-bit float audio. The more and more audio functions that are coming out into the market as a whole is supporting 32-bit float audio, and currently Lumix is one of the only cameras that supports 32-bit float audio internally on their cameras via the XLR2, and that's on the GH7 and then all three of the new Lumix S1 Mark II cameras. So with that said, you are getting a better audio format for an extra $500 or so if you're buying one of the new Lumix S1 cameras. And just to roughly break down that price for the Lumix S1 Mark II or the S1R Mark II, both those cameras price points are going to be coming in around $3,200 to $3,300 plus another $500 for the XLR2. You'll be closer to around $3,700 or $3,800, which is just a little bit under the Canon C50 price point, which is coming around $3,900. So about $200 less or so, but you are getting IBIS, and a really good IBIS, let me add, and getting a bunch of extra features that the new Lumix cameras also offer. And then the last thing I do want to touch point on between both these is going to be the menu layout. From what I've seen just personally, because I haven't had this camera hands on myself, the menu layout just seems absolute horrendous to BH. When you look at the Lumix cameras, once you kind of get used to where everything is, it's really functionally wise on navigating the entire menu setup. And when you are also on video record formats, it's super easy to display your different functions or kind of navigate what video settings you want to see. If you only want to see aspect ratios in 4:3, or you want to see things in 60 frames a second and see all your different recording formats, seeing if you want to shoot in your different type of long op versus all intro options. It's really easy to kind of navigate all the different recording menu options because there is a lot that Lumix cameras offer. So having a quick filter setup that the camera system currently does offer makes it a little bit easier. What I saw online from the Canon C50, it just seemed a little bit kind of all over the place, where you have to change some settings over here, then you change some settings over here, then you change some settings over here. It's really nice that Lumix kind of just says, here's the entire page. Just hit the filter button if you want to just filter out what video settings, if it's Cine 4K, CinemaScope 4K, normal 4K, 6K, 5.1K. It makes it really, really easy using just the filtering option and having everything on one page and each video setting individually explaining what that video setting is in itself. And since I'm a Lumix related channel, what can Lumix learn from the Canon C50? Especially with the new Lumix S1 Mark II, and I've said this multiple times throughout my entire channel, lots of podcast episodes, I think Lumix needs to come out with some type of hybrid design body. This is the S1 Mark II all rigged out, but I think if Lumix comes out with some type of box design or some type of similar design to the Canon C50, I think everyone wants more of a cinema style body design, because the hybrid bodies are nice and they're necessary. I understand that. But I think as a filmmaker first, I want something that's just a video camera and dedicated to doing only videos. Anyways, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on the new Canon C50 and especially how it compares to Lumix cameras. If you want to check out my entire review on the Lumix S1 Mark II, check out that video right there. YouTube recommends you might like this video right here. Till the next one, guys, peace.